Chapter 4170. After instructing Yu Jiwei, Tanghua went to Jiang Qiqi's room. Looking at the piles of books, Yu Jiwei did not have a headache. When Tanghua asked him to participate in survival on an island, he was looking forward to it. Now that she had arranged so many lessons for him, all about survival on an island, he was a little touched. Did this count as his agent's exclusive sponsorship? Although his agent was weird, Yu Jiwei quickly calmed down since he had such an opportunity. He opened the first book and read it carefully. There was no harm in learning more knowledge. It could always be useful. Tanghua decided to teach Jiang Qiqi the basics first. Jiang Qiqi learned it was not that complicated. Speaking of which, she was really too busy as an agent. She had to teach everything herself. On the first day, she let the two of them get used to everything. She stayed in the room and wrote about what they had to learn every day. Jiang Qiqi needed to learn internal strength, the coordination of various weapons, and 3 musical instruments, the guqin, the pipa, and the suona. The next day, Jiang Qiqi was very surprised when she saw that she had to learn the suona together with the guqin and the pipa. Sister Tang, why do you want to learn the suona? Learning classical instruments without the suona is soulless. This is your treasure. If anyone wants to compete with you in music in the future, just show them the king of the suona. Jiang Qiqi, are you kidding? Although the suona was indeed the king of musical instruments, there was still no one who could beat it. Okay, the suona is not too difficult. What I mean is that when you learn some elegant musical instruments, you will create a contrast between you and the suona. One day, when your fans find out that you know how to wield swords and all kinds of weapons, as well as elegant instruments like the guqin and the pipa, they will think that you are superior and not close enough. If they find out that you know how to play the suona, you will suddenly become close to them and give them a big contrast. To put it simply, you will leave a deep impression on them. Jiang Qiqi understood a little. Anyway, it's better to show the suona after you show your heroine image. At that time, no one will forget you. Sorry for troubling you, Sister Tang. Jiang Qiqi completely understood Tang was painstaking efforts. Sister Tang, when will these musical instrument teachers come over? Tanghua said, I am. Jiang Qiqi, what would it be like to have an all-around agent? On the first day of learning, Tanghua gave Jiang Qiqi the Nigong formula. Last night, Jiang Qiqi had also recorded a learning video. There were sword and zither learning videos. After teaching her 3 times, Tanghua handed the class schedule to Jiang Qiqi and told her to practice on her own. Jiang Qiqi was very serious. She had a devil agent. If she didn't work hard, she wouldn't be worthy of such an excellent agent. Similarly, for Yu Jiwei, Tanghua gave him the iron fist technique and also passed on the incantation of the internal strength. As for how much Yu Jiwei could learn, it would depend on his own diligence. The system also helped by collecting a lot of survival videos in the wild. What Yu Jiwei learned here all depended on himself. During this time, if the two of them had any problems, they could ask her at any time and she would answer them one by one. At the same time, she also made some pills for the two of them. It wasn't obvious on the surface, but in fact, their bodies had been reborn and they learned things much faster. Peak. Chapter 4171. If the two of them had any questions, Tanghua would be able to solve them. Gradually, they got used to having an all-round manager. The more outstanding Tanghua was, the more they wanted to learn from her. If they did not improve themselves, they did not deserve to stay by her side. They really did not expect that one day they would feel inferior because of their manager. This kind of inferiority did not affect their confidence. Instead, it ignited their fighting spirit. Tanghua liked their hard work. Many people felt that they were not suitable for the entertainment industry. Then, she would make them suitable for the industry. She would make them an existence that other artists could not surpass or imitate. 2 months passed. The talent show that He participated in had also ended. At the moment, the company was indeed a little weak. They did not manage to get He into the top 3. He came in 4th place in the finals. It was already good enough that they could keep this name. The top 3 artists were either famous or had strong backing. If the company did not help he probably would not have been able to get into the top 5. With his ability, getting into the top 10 was not a problem. He's ranking was not bad. At the moment, the company said that they would fight for a role for him. They also wanted to give him some small endorsements. In short, they wanted to focus a portion of their resources on him. Tanguy did not reject the company's arrangement. There were so many entertainment companies, but the one that she was in was one that had a conscience. Although they valued profits, they also cared about the future development of their artists. Tanguy looked through all the endorsements. There were no big problems. Since there was nothing else to do, Hele could do these first. Tanguy still decided to fight for the role in the script for Hele. Escaping was not a problem. She wanted to use this time to train Hele. The problem of being overshadowed by others was quite easy to solve. If Hele was overshadowed and led by an award-winning actress every day, he would probably get used to it after a few months. Hele did not know why, but he felt uneasy being by this manager's side. Ever since he was picked up by a low-key but noble car, he felt that something was not right. Why did his manager bring him to such a luxurious place? It couldn't be the kind of thing that was rumored in the circle, wanting him to sell his butt, right? Hele subconsciously covered his butt and shook his head. No matter what happened later, even if the company wanted to ban him and make him buy his butt, it was impossible. He didn't think it was bad to be a popular young actor. Anyway, he could participate in programs, act, and stand under the spotlight to show himself. However, he was a man with a bottom line. He would never sell his body for such things. Tanguy didn't know what Hele was thinking. She was still thinking about how to train Hele in the next few months. Calculating the time, it would take another 2 months for Changxian to transmigrate here. 2 months was enough for her to do many things. Right now, the most important thing was still to properly improve Hele. Hele had been very worried and felt a little sad. She had thought that this manager was different, but it turned out that she was still the same. He calmed himself down and took a deep breath, preparing himself mentally. No matter how much he was scolded, he would not give in. However, when Tanguy brought him around a corner, the scene in front of him was different from what he had expected. He saw a woman dressed in ancient clothing holding a long sword and practicing a beautiful sword dance. After staying there for 5 minutes, the woman put down the long sword and picked up a pipa. She danced and played at the same time. After another 20 minutes, she even played the swana. Hele recognized the woman. Wasn't that extraordinary and attractive woman Jiang Qiqi? What happened to Jiang Qiqi? Was that really her? Tanguy patted Hele. Let's go and see how Xiao Yu is doing. Soon, Hele saw a lot of bricks. Beside the bricks, there was a bare-chested man with tan skin. What surprised Hele was that the man was actually breaking the bricks. Chapter 4172. He didn't see wrongly. She did pick up a brick and break it without stopping. The brick was like a piece of tofu in her hands. Hele didn't believe it. He even went over to pick up a piece and try to break it. He didn't expect that even after using all his strength, he still couldn't break it open. He even sweated all over. Hele, your physical fitness isn't good. Although you have to maintain a handsome face and maintain your fair skin, you still have to be strong. But your body still needs to be trained. Under normal circumstances, you won't be able to develop any scary muscles. But after training, not only will it be good for your body, but you'll also look better in clothes. If there are any special scenes, you can even give people a surprise. If you remove your outer layer of clothes, you'll always feel like you're lacking in ribs. Do you think you're good? Hele thought for a moment and agreed with Tanguy's statement. Hele wanted to ask Tanguy what was going on with Yu Jiwei and Jiang Qiqi. It had only been 2 months, but they had changed so much. It was as if they had been reborn. It was very dazzling, especially the aura of the two of them. It was a huge change. With their looks, who would dare to say that they were ordinary? At this moment, Yu Jiwei saw him and greeted him warmly. However, he didn't hold the rope in his hand. Yu Jiwei actually picked up some hay beside him and started rubbing it continuously. What was he rubbing? Soon, Hele found out that Yu Jiwei was rubbing rope. Needless to say, he was pretty good at it. Hele was a little dumbfounded. What was going on? He slapped his face hard. He had long forgotten about the possibility of being sold, buttocks, and shares to the back of his mind. Now, he suspected that he was having a very strange dream. Your performance in the talent show was very good. Hele, your conditions are very good, but there are too many celebrities with good conditions now. There are countless people who are better than you. Not only are they better than you, but their background and resources are also better than yours. I know your ambition is different from many people's. You want to develop in a down-to-earth manner, but it's not easy to carve out a bloody path like this. Heelei subconsciously blurted out, Sister Tang, you know my bottom line. If he really want to sell, he wouldn't do it. What are you thinking? What I mean is that during this period of time, other than some endorsements, the company is currently helping you get roles. During this period, I've set up some courses for you. Heelei's heart relaxed. What class is it? First of all, you can't neglect your own profession. Singing and dancing are skills that you already know. You have to practice them every day. Heelei nodded solemnly. I won't neglect this. Also, I want to train your acting skills. In terms of internal energy, Tanghua would still be taught to Heelei. Everyone would be treated equally. In addition, Heelei's condition was that he would have a wide range of roles. She planned to let Jiang Qiqi teach Heelei swordsmanship and saber techniques. Jiang Qiqi was already very skilled. She should have learned to share some of the burden with her manager. System. That's right. The cow has slowly grown up. It's time to learn how to raise the calves. The system could already imagine that in the future, its host would take in a large batch of artists and hand them over to these strong bulls who could even help raise the newcomers. Today, you should familiarize yourself with your surroundings first. In a while, I'll ask the housekeeper to bring you to choose a room and the assistant to arrange a schedule for you. Remember to take some time to come and learn. After familiarizing himself with the place for a day, Heelei realized that the mansion belonged to his manager. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said to Yu Jiwei and Jiang Qiqi, our manager is so secretive. Jiang Qiqi said, she's more than secretive. Heelei, learn well. If you don't become famous with such an excellent manager, you don't deserve to be managed by her. The next day, Heelei came over whenever he was free to practice martial arts with Jiang Qiqi. Tanghua didn't restrict them. They could exchange what they had learned with each other. She preferred artists who liked to learn. Heelei had some jobs and endorsements. Tanghua would still follow him to take a look. The main reason was that she wanted to take the opportunity to teach Heelei how to act. At first, Heelei was suppressed by Tanghua every day. It was simply too uncomfortable to be suppressed by someone else. However, Tanghua gave him a stick and a candy. Heelei couldn't stop. Later, he gradually got used to this mode and his acting skills were secretly improving. Just like this, another 2 months passed. On this day, Cheng Xian woke up in the living room full of beer bottles and smoke. Her eyes were extremely clear as she constantly scanned her surroundings. Chapter 4173. She obviously has such good physical conditions, but she actually led such a terrible life. She even wanted to send the child to the welfare home. This woman must be stupid. Cheng Xian couldn't help but complain after looking through all the memories. She had gotten into a car accident and thought that she was dead for sure. She didn't expect that she would be transported to a parallel universe. Although this was a parallel universe, there were some things that were different from her universe, but most of them were similar. Before she got into the car accident, she had already won awards for Best Actress and Best Actress. Now that she had transmigrated to an unknown female star, it was exactly what she wanted. This body had a good foundation, but because of all the trouble, she had put on some weight and her face was haggard, not to mention the dark circles under her eyes. Until now, there were still photos of her drinking and going to nightclubs. Unfortunately, she wasn't famous at all. For a female star like her who didn't make any waves, the entertainment reporters didn't want to take pictures of her. It looks like you have a lot of grievances. Since I have taken over your body, I will fulfill your wish and make those who looked down on you regret it. Cheng Xian walked out of the bathroom and heard the crying of the child. She frowned slightly. She had never taken care of a child before. The original owner of this body wasn't clear-headed. She had slept with a random person and thought that he had a good status. How could she give birth to the child? Since she had taken over this body, even if she had never taken care of a child before, she had to bite the bullet. To Tanghua, Cheng Xian wasn't a dangerous person. She was just capable, smart, talented, and had good acting skills. She was much better than the original Cheng Xian. After being in the entertainment industry for so many years, she wasn't a naive girl. That was why she could do so well in the industry. This Chang Xian chose to use her acting skills and her ability to take revenge on those who looked down on the original Chang Xian. Basically, she wouldn't take the initiative to do things that were very dangerous. Hence, her choice was to let the artists under her improve themselves. Although it had only been a few months, the few of them that she had changed had already undergone earth-shattering changes. Just by walking out, the aura that they exuded was incomparable to that of an ordinary artist. In the original plot, Tanghua had also fought for the role that belonged to He Lei from the company. Before this, she also arranged another course for the three artists. And this course was a lifelong course, calligraphy. Having an artist with good handwriting and calligraphy skills would also increase his remuneration by quite a bit. Practicing calligraphy could not only leave a good impression on the audience, but it could also cultivate oneself. In this impetuous entertainment industry, he hoped that they could reflect on themselves from time to time and not lose themselves in the vanity before them. Since he was going to do it, he had to do it to the best of his ability. The three of them had no objections to the classes that Tanghua had arranged for them. Even now, other than sleeping and eating, they were all studying the classes that Tanghua had arranged for them. Although they were a little tired, they had already experienced the charm of learning these things. When they heard that it was a calligraphy class, they were more excited than anyone else. When Tanghua came to teach them personally, they were not surprised at all. It was as if they were already used to having such an all-round manager. In their hearts, they wondered if their all-round manager had learned so many things since she was 3 years old. Chapter 4174. The life of a rich man was indeed different from that of an ordinary person. If he could persevere, there was no reason for them to give up, right? He Lei wanted to end Tangua's training for a while, but he would still practice the internal energy that Tanghua taught him every day. He also did not plan to slack off on his fitness and calligraphy. No matter what, he had to make time for it. However, he did not have time to rest. He was still young, so it was okay to be tired. Moreover, after practicing internal energy, he did not feel that his body could not take it. It seemed that he could still do it. Tanghua got the role in the script. Because it was the third male lead, the director had high expectations. He had to bring He Lei to the audition personally. If He Lei could not impress the director, he could only play the fourth male lead. He Lei was still very confident about this audition. They stood outside and waited. He Lei looked at these artists who had serious expressions on their faces and felt much calmer. He had a manager to help him practice every day. If he could not pass, then he would have learned for nothing. Compared to his manager showing all kinds of impressive sides, this small scene was nothing. Soon, it was He Lei's turn. Tanghua was still waiting outside. She was considered a newcomer in the industry. She did not have a decent artist under her management, so no one knew her. Host, Chang Xian is here. She is wearing a cap and is dressed up beautifully today. She is very suitable for the role of the second female lead. She is here for the role of the second female lead. Don't worry about her. He Lei has been trained by me for a few months. If he is still suppressed by Chang Xian this time, then it means that he is not good enough. He still needs to practice. In the past, she would suppress He Lei countless times every day. If he was not used to it, then she had nothing to say. Chang Xian seemed to feel Tanghua's gaze. She raised her cap slightly and looked at Tanghua. Tanghua had no intention of going over. Chang Xian also had no intention of coming over. However, she saw the determination in Chang Xian's eyes. She also saw the faint hostility in Chang Xian's eyes. Chang Xian felt that the original Chang Xian was not good enough. But Tanghua, her manager, and the original company were more realistic. Therefore, the first thing she had to do was to get a role and let everyone see her ability. She had to climb up step by step and let those snobs regret it. Chang Xian came back to her senses and found that Tanghua didn't look at her at all. It was as if he didn't put her in his eyes at all. She saw a handsome young man standing beside Tanghua. She recognized him at a glance. Wasn't he He Lei, who had almost made it to the top 3 in a talent show? Speaking of which, a portion of Chang Xian's resources had been given to He Lei. She didn't know if He Lei had passed or not. If he could enter a production team, she wouldn't mind giving this arrogant brat a hard time. She had never thought of harming anyone. The simplest way was to suppress the drama so that no one could find fault with her. She was just a newcomer. Who would think that she could suppress the show? She wasn't famous now, so she couldn't even compare to Hele. Tanghua saw the scheming look in Cheng Xian's eyes and said to Hele, "Let's go. We will talk about it when we get back. Also, I will take this opportunity to teach you 2 more lessons." If the matter was confirmed, Tanghua would go to the company and ask about the script. She would let Hele go through all the scenes that he was going to play. Chapter 4175. As for the part where she was acting with Cheng Xian, she would personally take part in it and give Cheng Xian a good practice. That's right. In the future, all her artists would have to get the script in advance. That was the prerequisite. She would let them practice it first. She didn't believe that there would be any problems. Without a script, who knew what would happen in the future? "Sister Tang, I will work hard. I won't embarrass you." Back in the car, Hele said seriously, "Actually, I was afraid that someone would overhear me. The director is very satisfied with me and has already decided on me." "That's good. Let's go back to the company first. I'll get the script for you. There's still some time before the filming starts. Let's practice first." Thinking about the scenes with his manager, Hele's heart trembled. His manager was really too scary. He had the same thoughts as Jiang Qiqi. His manager had entered the wrong industry. If she was an actress, she would have been famous all over the country. On the 3rd day, the company handed the script to Tanghua. After receiving it, she brought Hele back to the villa and trained him for half a month. Jiang Qiqi and Yu Jiwei saw this and did not dare to let their guard down. Occasionally, they would go and watch. Hele had already practiced with them and was already very good. However, when facing Tanghua, he was still easily suppressed, especially when Tanghua was playing the role of the second female lead. She could instantly bring Hele into the role as if she was that character. This scene shocked the 3 of them. They had never seen such an awesome manager. They had a tacit understanding and never had the intention to spread this news. Such a good manager. The 3 of them were enough. If the whole world knew how good she was, wouldn't they lose her favor? No way. On the first day that Hele joined the set, Tanghua followed him. She planned to follow Hele for a week. When he got used to the set, she would come back and arrange for the other 2 artists. Hele was very touched. He swore countless times in his heart that he would do his best. These few months, his manager did not have much rest. Fortunately, she was very skilled. Otherwise, she would definitely be exhausted. There was no spiritual energy in this world. Tanghua also practiced internal energy. Of course, she improved much faster than the others. When the director saw Hele appear, he patted him on the shoulder with satisfaction and spoke in a pleasant tone. Hele did not dare to be arrogant. His attitude was very humble. After being trained by Tanghua for a few months, his initial sharp aura had disappeared. He gave people the impression that he was very stable. She had only been on set for half a day, but she had already gained the favor of many people. Hele's first scene was with Cheng Xian. Chapter 4176. Originally, he had his eyes set on another actress, but Cheng Xian's performance was too outstanding, so he decided to cast her. The director was looking forward to seeing what kind of sparks would fly between the 2. In this drama, Hele played the role of Fan Shi, a hooligan, while Cheng Xian played the role of Miyashue, a proud and noble lady. No matter where she went, she would attract countless gazes. The plot of this drama took place when the beautiful lady, Miyashue, was drunk in a bar because she was rejected. Coincidentally, she was harassed by a few hooligans. Fan Shi was also a regular at this bar. Perhaps it was love at first sight. But when he saw that the lady was in trouble, he rolled up his sleeves and decided to help Miyashue. "What are you guys doing?" Fan Shi often visited ghost bars, so he knew that these people were not kind. But because he was stunned by Miyashue at first sight, even though he was afraid, he braced himself and swore that he would escort this beautiful woman home today and not allow these people to bully her. He was clearly a hooligan with nothing better to do. But at this moment, he actually had a ridiculous desire to protect her. Miyashue was a little drunk, but she was not too drunk. As the heiress of the Mi group, how could no one watch over her when she was out drinking? She was surrounded by a few hooligans who were teasing her. She did not appear because she wanted to play a game. She was going to make these hooligans suffer. She was not a kind person. She was not like that little white flower beside a man who needed someone to protect her for everything and kept getting into trouble. When Fanshi appeared and tried to meddle in her business, Miyashua wanted to see what would happen next. Brat, if you know what's good for you, leave. Don't meddle in other people's business, or you might lose your life. The men surrounding Miyashua were fierce. Fanshi trembled in fear. At this moment, he was a little scared as his legs trembled. He had seen these men before and knew how fierce they were. A hooligan like him could not afford to offend them. Fanshi originally wanted to turn around and leave, giving up on his plan to save the damsel in distress. But when he saw Miyashua's slightly red face and her misty eyes, his heart skipped a beat as he subconsciously clenched his fists. Cheng Xian was a little surprised. She was already trying to suppress Hele with her gaze. She did not expect Hele to accept it. Hele was also a little puzzled. This second female lead seemed a little strange. She was actually suppressing his acting. But, compared to his manager, this second female lead was nothing. If it wasn't for his manager's training, he would not have acted with Cheng Xian at all. Because in his heart, the perfect Miyashua was played by his agent. Let go of her, Fanshi roared. She did not know where she got the strength from, but she tried to push the men away. Of course, with his small body, it was impossible for him to push these men away. Stinking brat, you refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. You don't have any ability at all, yet you dare to learn how to be a hero and save a damsel in distress? We brothers will teach you today that not everyone can be a hero and save a damsel in distress. As soon as the leader of the group of men gave the order, the other men rushed over and began to beat Fanshi up. Fanshi tried his best to resist, but in the end, he realized that he could not resist. So, he shouted, "You can hit me, but let her go. Yoho, you're such a romantic. Continue to beat him up. Beat him up as hard as you can. I want to see who dares to stop you." Fanshi endured the most vicious beating, but he could not help but look at Miyashua. She was still looking at him with a pair of confused eyes. Fanshi felt like he could see the sadness in Miyashua's eyes. His heart ached. So, he yelled at Miyashua, "Go away." Pfft. Miyashua laughed when she saw Fanshi in such a sorry state. She even poured herself a glass of red wine, crossed her legs, and elegantly raised her glass. She looked at the scene in front of her as if she was watching a clown perform. Fanshi did not seem to notice. All he saw was the sadness in Miyashua's eyes. He could not see anything else. Even though Miyashua did not seem to care and looked at everything as if it was nothing, Fanshi felt like she had given up on the world. But he still wanted to protect her. Chapter 4177. At that moment, he actually hated himself for being a hooligan. If he had status and ability, he would not have to watch the scene unfold in front of him. Instead, he would have gone to protect the person he wanted to protect. A hooligan that had no expectations for his future was suddenly filled with ambition. He wanted to be above everyone else. He was already beaten to a pulp and his vision was blocked by blood. Yet, he still wanted her to leave. Hele was thinking in his heart, what was wrong with this Cheng Xian? She always wanted to suppress his scenes. Could it be that actors were all scheming against each other like this? Although he was thinking about other things, he did not act carelessly on the surface. Instead, he portrayed the thoughts and actions of a hooligan to the fullest. Meanwhile, Cheng Xian's expression turned ugly. She looked at Fanshi in surprise. It was because of this momentary distraction that the director called for them to stop. "What's wrong with you? It's your turn to speak." Cheng Xian was stunned for a moment before she realized that she had been suppressed by Fanshi. When Tanghua saw this, she felt relieved. Although Cheng Xian was an award-winning actress, based on her performance today, she did not appear to be an experienced actress. She was most likely a new award-winning actress. Otherwise, an experienced actress would not have been suppressed so easily. "I'm sorry, director." Cheng Xian no longer dared to underestimate Hele. She did not expect a popular actor in this world to have such good acting skills. Cheng Xian felt a little bad. This world was quite different from her previous one. In her previous world, there were not many popular actors with good acting skills. Cheng Xian was prepared, so she quickly spoke her lines. She spoke in a disdainful tone. "Have you guys had enough fun?" She said to the men. "Since you guys have had enough fun, it's my turn." Miyashue stood up and walked over to Fanshi. As usual, she elegantly held up a wine glass and a bottle of expensive red wine. The men thought that Miyashue had asked for a drink, so they laughed. But, to their surprise, Miyashue splashed the wine in her glass onto the leader's face. "Come, I'll treat you to a drink." Being splashed in the face, the boss was furious. He reached out to grab Miyashue, but, to his surprise, Miyashue smashed the wine bottle onto his head. The entire scene fell silent. Before anyone could react, Fanshi broke free from the men's grasp, grabbed Miyashue and ran outside. Miyashue almost fell to the ground. When Fanshi noticed this, he decided to carry her in his arms. Miyashue was dumbfounded. This scene was not in the script. Miyashue, 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 Miyashue of a spoiled brat, Miyashue, 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 Miyashue. However, Fanshi did not listen to her. Finally, Miyaksu did not want to play anymore. She shouted, and a few tall and strong men came out and stopped them. After that, Fanshi realized that the young lady had someone protecting her. Especially when the other party looked so noble, Fanshi wished he could hide in the darkness. He moved his feet and walked into the darkness. He did not want to see what was going on. Miyashue, on the other hand, didn't seem to care about this person, because the show was different from what she had expected. The men who had set their eyes on her were beaten up badly. After one scene, Hilei was finally restrained. Changxian, on the other hand, was not so good. She had to admit that Hilei's acting was too good. Even when she added scenes for herself, the director did not ask her to stop. Especially when she saw that the director was satisfied with her performance, Changxian could not help but hold back her anger. Tanghua was very satisfied with Hilei's performance. Just one scene in a few days was enough to make people feel that Fanshi's character was alive. "Sister Tang, how was it?" Tanghua nodded her head and said in a quiet voice, "You did well. Even the director was praising you. The character is alive. If you maintain this standard, Fanshi's character will have a lot of scenes. I'm sure it will shock people." "Don't worry, Sister Tang," Hilei said in a low voice. "Sister Tang, she's suppressing me. She's probably not satisfied with me. Be careful. With Sister Tang's help, this won't affect me. Originally, I wanted to suppress her and make her stop, but I didn't think it was worth it. So, in the end, I decided to maintain my standard." Tanghua was satisfied. "You did well. No matter how much she suppresses you, you just need to act your part. The director isn't simple. You know what's going on. I'll listen to Sister Tang. Don't worry, I won't screw up. I really like this character." Chapter 4178. After that, Changxian and Hilei had a few more scenes together. She tried to suppress her but failed. She was even suppressed by Hilei once or twice. Hilei did not want to affect the filming process because of the scheming between actors. Occasionally, he would fight back to let Changxian know that he was not someone to be bullied. He believed that everyone on set, especially the director, could tell that Changxian was doing it on purpose. Although he was confident that Changxian would not be able to continue acting, just to defeat Changxian would not do him any good. No matter how satisfied the director was with him, he would still blame him in his heart. He would think that he was being unreasonable. Therefore, Hilei decided to play his role well. He wanted to find out more about his role. If Changxian cooperated well, he would act with her seriously. If she wanted to play tricks, he was not afraid. Hilei was actually still a little scared. If it was not for his omnipotent agent, he might have been the one to be stopped. With his acting skills a few months ago, he would not have been able to act with Changxian so skillfully. The director and some of the actors on set were also shocked. Hilei was a newcomer. Although he graduated from the acting department, he was not as good as those actors who had played countless roles. Could it be that this was the legendary gift from the heavens? How could the director not see through Changxian's little tricks? He did not know who Changxian used to be. There were too many people in this industry. He could not know everyone. But after using Changxian, he still did a background check on this female artist. She did not have a good reputation. But he believed that seeing was believing, so he did not pay much attention to it. He could guess that Cheng Xian suppressed Hele. Maybe she was not satisfied with Tanghua and her previous company. In his impression, the director was not satisfied with Cheng Xian's behavior. Because Hele was sensible and did not affect the filming progress, he was in a good mood. So he did not pay much attention to it. But his attitude towards Cheng Xian was much colder than before. In the past week, Cheng Xian tried all kinds of ways to make Hele look bad. She had to admit that the little fresh meats in this world were different. They were good-looking and had good acting skills. Cheng Xian was a lot more nervous. If all the little fresh meats were so good, then she, who used to be a movie queen, was not good enough in this world. When Cheng Xian calmed down, she finally realized that the director's attitude towards her was much colder. She was shocked and realized that her previous behavior had been discovered by the director. Although she was unwilling, Cheng Xian did not intend to suppress the drama anymore. This was her comeback, and she could not let anything go wrong. This time, he couldn't teach Tanghua's men a lesson, but there would be many opportunities in the future. Tanghua could tell that Cheng Xian did not continue to court death. She guessed that Cheng Xian would not cause any more trouble. This drama was more important to Cheng Xian. Similarly, this drama was also very important to Hele. If this role was successful, Hele's fame would rise to another level. She didn't want to joke about her artist's future, so she didn't plan to cause any trouble. Xiaolei, the crew is basically on track. From tomorrow onwards, I won't be with you. If there's anything you need, I'll leave it to my assistant. Hele also knew that it was impossible for a busy manager to stay by his side all the time. It was already good enough that she could accompany him for a week. Okay, Sister Tang, I'm an adult now. I'll take care of myself. Chapter 4179. Chi-Chi and Xiaoyu are still waiting for me to arrange work for them. For now, don't think about anything else. Just focus on this film. Don't think that you can achieve success in one step. You have to do it step by step. In the future, I will carefully select all your scripts for you. I guarantee that you will improve in every one of them. Hele believed in this and quickly thanked her. There were not many good managers in this world. The next day, Hele did not go to the set with Tanghua. Seeing that Tanghua wasn't there, Cheng Xian tried to suppress Hele's performance. Unfortunately, she was completely wrong. When Tanghua was around, Hele was actually a little nervous. Now that Tanghua was not around, he seemed to perform better. He suppressed Cheng Xian so much that she forgot her lines. Later on, when they filmed another scene, he could not get into character. Hele finally realized that in his heart, the person playing Miyashue was indeed his manager. Hele always fought back. He never suppressed his lines. Moreover, he was very serious with the other actors and never caused any trouble. Therefore, the director did not think that there was anything wrong with Cheng Xian being affected by Hele. In his opinion, Hele was already very considerate. If he was Hele and this happened to him, he was sure that Cheng Xian would not be able to act today. Cheng Xian's face turned ugly. She also realized that she was too impulsive. At first, she thought that she was a movie queen. Her knowledge of acting was better than that of a newcomer. Wasn't it easy for her to suppress him? Because she looked down on him, she made a fool of herself. After this incident, Cheng Xian really did not cause any trouble. That night, Tanghua received a call from Hele. Did you encounter any trouble? No, no trouble. After Sister Tang left, Cheng Xian tried to suppress my lines again. Hele told her what happened during the day. Actually, I only forgot my lines when I was facing Sister Tang's Miyashue. Cheng Xian almost forgot her lines. Tanghua could hear the pride in Hele's voice. Xiaolei, don't think that way. I don't know what happened to Cheng Xian, but her acting skills have improved a lot. Just by the fact that she has improved so much in such a short period of time and got the role of Miyashue on her own, it means that she's quite capable. If you're complacent because you've beaten her a few times today, you'll lose very badly in a few days. In this circle, many people are improving every day. Don't get carried away just because of a momentary victory. Hele was awakened by Tanghua's words. He hurriedly said, "Thank you, Sister Tang. I understand now. I just won a few matches, so I'm a little complacent." Sister Tang was right. Today, I only met an ordinary actress, Cheng Xian. In the future, I might meet some powerful veteran actors, and Chung Xian might improve quickly because of this. Don't worry, Sister Tang. I won't be arrogant anymore. Then rest early. After hanging up the phone, Tangwa decided to teach He a lesson from time to time. For example, when she was free, she would rehearse a few scenes with this young man. It would make him doubt his life and prevent him from becoming arrogant. After hanging up the phone, He suddenly felt that the surroundings were chilly. He hurriedly tightened his small quilt. Recently, Tangwa had been looking for roles for Jiang Qiqi. Because of He, Jiang Qiqi's status in the company had increased a lot. Therefore, through the company's internal information, she was able to know a lot of the scripts that were being cast in advance. Chapter 4180. Without background and resources, it would be difficult to get the role of the first female lead, unless it was a willful director. She had done her research and found that none of the willful directors had gotten a suitable script. Moreover, it was impossible for Jiang Qiqi to get the role of the first female lead. She still had to take it one bite at a time. She planned to get Jiang Qiqi the second female lead, or a more prominent role as the third female lead. So far, she had her eyes on two scripts. One was a period drama and the other was a police film. Both scripts were good and had their own characteristics. In the period drama, Tangwa had her eyes on the third female lead. The third female lead was the heir of the Marquis family, who had been raised as a man because of his family's interests. In the police film, she was a villain who had killed many people in the early stages. In the final chapter, there was a sudden change. The villain's female boss was actually a police officer and was later sent to be an undercover agent. What the police did not expect was that within 2 years, the undercover agent changed sides and became the enemy. She had done all kinds of bad things and killed many police officers. The police officers hated this female boss to the core. In the final chapter, it would be pointed out that most of the police officers she had killed were undercover agents working for the drug lords. Of course, in order to gain the drug lords' trust, many innocent people had died in her hands. Therefore, this was a very contradictory and very spicy role. Sister Tang, I like the role of the villain. Jiang Qiqi listened to Tang's description of the two scripts. Although the cross-dressing air is not bad, I feel that the female villain's role is more interesting if we explore more deeply. Tangwa had expected Jiang Qiqi's choice. Okay, then you should prepare for this role first. I'll take you to the audition later. The first female lead has been confirmed, and there are many actors competing for the second female lead. This role is not suitable for ordinary actors. The director has not found a suitable candidate, so it depends on your performance. Tangwa decided to train Jiang Qiqi well. She had forgotten that she had let Jiang Qiqi learn so much, but she had forgotten one thing. There was still half a month before the audition. On the same day, Tangwa asked the system to book 3 tickets for her to fly abroad. Jiang Qiqi and Yu Jiwei were a little confused. Why were they suddenly going abroad? Originally, I wanted to bring Qiqi out this time. It seems too lonely to leave you alone at home. Since you want to learn, then let's learn together. Tangwa said. Jiang Qiqi whispered, Sister Tang, what are we going to learn this time? She was going to study abroad? She thought about it for a long time, but she couldn't figure it out. Tangwa didn't say anything. When they arrived at the destination, the two of them looked at the black thing in front of them and felt a headache coming on. Oh my God! What kind of demonic agent did they follow to actually make them learn this? Although the props are all fake during the acting, without experiencing the real thing, you probably won't be able to get that feeling. What else could they do? Jiang Qiqi and Yu Jiwei had no choice but to bite the bullet. Not only did they have to learn how to shoot, but they also had to learn how to disassemble and assemble. They suspected that their manager wasn't grooming actors, but secret agents. In addition to learning this stuff, Tangwa also let them watch various police and gangster movies every day, as well as some domestic and foreign information in this field. This was especially true for foreign countries that weren't as safe. There were all kinds of information available, and the two of them felt their scalps go numb. Chapter 4181. For the first time, they felt that being an actor was very difficult. 10 days later, the 3 of them returned to China. Yu Jiwei returned to the villa and practiced seriously every day. He asked Tanghua, and she told him that she would take him to the survival show after making arrangements for Jiang Qiqi. She had already signed him up, but the last season was not over yet. When it was over, Jiang Qiqi should be ready. On this day, Tanghua took Jiang Qiqi to the audition. Jiang Qiqi prepared 2 scenes. Of course, she did not get the script yet, but the director would still take out the scenes for the role. Jiang Qiqi prepared 2 scenes. The first scene was when she joined the drug lord's camp and killed the first police officer to gain his trust. The second scene was when the drug lord praised her. Tanghua had played these 2 scenes for Jiang Qiqi personally. Jiang Qiqi also had her own understanding. In the end, Cheng Xian's performance was good. If there were no accidents, Jiang Qiqi should be able to get the role. Because of this role, many romance dramas did not have high requirements for the actress's height and appearance. Moreover, Jiang Qiqi's aura had changed a lot. Even if her face was not outstanding, she was still very eye-catching in the crowd. She was dressed more casually today. When she stood there, she gave off a valiant feeling. The actresses who came for the audition with her could not help but look at Jiang Qiqi. Jiang Qiqi quite enjoyed this kind of gaze, especially when the actresses looked at her with eyes full of the feeling that this woman was very handsome. It actually made her feel very happy. There was an actress next to her who could not open the cap of a bottle. Jiang Qiqi even took the initiative to say, "Let me help you." "Ah, thank you." Jiang Qiqi took the bottle and twisted it gently, loosening the cap. "You're so good." The actress took a sip from the bottle. Jiang Qiqi said, "I'm just a little stronger." "You're still very good." Tanghua looked at this scene and did not stop them. Actually, she felt that Jiang Qiqi's nature was like this. She did not deliberately teach these things. After almost half a year of training, Jiang Qiqi and Yu Jiwei's performance was actually quite close to their nature. Soon, it was Jiang Qiqi's turn. Tanghua was waiting outside. She was not nervous at all, even though there were some veteran actors here today. She believed that after nearly half a year of training, Jiang Qiqi would definitely stand out. Time passed slowly. Usually, she would come out after a few minutes. However, this time, Jiang Qiqi only came out after half an hour. There was a smile in her eyes. As soon as she came out, she quickly ran over to Tanghua and excitedly grabbed onto Tanghua's arm. As there were many people around, she did not make a sound. When they were back in the car, Jiang Qiqi said, "Sister Tang, it should be done." It had been a long time since Jiang Qiqi debuted, but this was the first time she had gotten a second female lead role. Moreover, it was such a special second female lead role. She was really excited. She originally thought that with her image, it would be difficult to find a suitable script. Even if there was one, it might not land on her. It will get better and better in the future. What does the director think of you? In addition to the 2 scenes that were prepared, the director also let me try out for another scene, and it was shot on the spot. I even showed the director my skills and told him that I could do some of the actions myself. He was very satisfied. "Okay then, I'll talk to the company later and ask them to bring the script back as soon as possible. I'll rehearse with you." At the peak, they couldn't help but have a whole new level of respect for a valiant and formidable female artist like Jiang Qiqi. Tanghua returned to the villa and looked at Yu Jiwei, who was chopping bricks. She thought to herself that in the end, she would have to drag him out to make money. After leaving Yu Jiwei on the island, she had time to look for other actors. When Yu Jiwei saw Tanghua, he happily stopped what he was doing. "Sister Tang, is it my turn?" "All right, Xiao Yu. Get ready. We'll go over in 2 days. The latest season is about to end." "Yeah, I watched this season's show. There's an actor who's been on the island for almost 2 months. Looking at him, I don't think he'll last more than a few days." Chapter 4183. 2 days later, Tanghua brought Yu Jiwei to the set of Survival on an Island. The set was by the sea. The place was crowded with people and had become a special attraction. There were countless online celebrities who came to check in. Some online celebrities also wanted to sign up for Survival on an Island in order to gain attention. The production crew would not stop anyone who wanted to participate, but they only had one chance. To participate in the show, One had to sign up in advance and the production crew would arrange it. In other words, before going to the island, they would not know who would be there. Those who had not been to the island would think that it was very simple. Only after experiencing it would they know how difficult it was. On this island, it was not allowed to kill wild animals in the forest. In other words, other than fishing and catching prawns, there was almost no way to eat meat. Actually, on this island, there were very few wild animals, but there were more insects. The island was very big and the production crew protected it well. After every season, there would be people who would go down to clean it up. Every year, the production crew would plant trees on this small island. Have you thought of the 3 things to bring? Tangwa asked. Yu Wei, who had been through all kinds of training, nodded. First, a sharp and easy-to-use knife. Second, a pot. Speaking of this, Yu Wei felt that the production crew was a little tricky. At the very least, they did not prepare pots and pans. If he brought a pot, he could cook and eat it. He could also use it as a bowl temporarily to hold water. He had seen the previous show where the artist did not bring a pot. In the end, he brought a stone pot. In that episode, the artist did not last for 10 days. Third, bring a tent. If he became popular, he could borrow it from other artists and then exchange it with other things. Tangwa shook her head. You can build your own place to stay. You should be able to do it, right? The production crew planted trees every year because they allowed the actors to cut down trees to survive. There should be a lot of dead trees on the island. You can pick up those dead trees and use them. If I don't bring a tent, what should I bring? Yu Wei asked. If he built it himself, he could indeed do it. Tangwa had even brought him to the wilderness to practice it. It was not a problem. Another tricky thing about the production crew was that they did not allow the actors to discuss in advance what they would bring. It should be said that before going to the island, they did not know who would participate. They had signed up in advance, and the production crew had allocated a quota for each season. I've prepared something for you, Tangwa said with a smile. An old hen that can lay eggs. What? Yu Wei was shocked. An old hen that could lay eggs? Wait a minute, this arrangement seems to be quite suitable. None of the celebrities who had participated in this program had ever brought a living thing with them. What did an old hen that could lay eggs mean? This meant that he could eat an egg every day. Hatching chicks was one thing, but in just 3 short months on an isolated island, chicks wouldn't be able to grow. Bringing an old hen that could lay eggs was especially good. 1 egg was enough to replenish the protein he needed. Sister Tang, how did you come up with this idea? Yu Wei really didn't know what to say. This idea was really amazing. No wonder. No wonder Sister Tang wanted to show me the book on raising poultry. It turns out that you wanted me to raise chickens on the island. I've already picked out an old hen for you. Tangwa smiled nonchalantly. She even fed the old hen a pill. As long as Yu Wei raised it well, this chicken could lay 2 eggs every day, 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening. Chapter 4184. When the time comes, you have to take good care of the hen. Take it out for a walk every day and treat it well. Yu Wei hurriedly said, Sister Tang, don't worry. I will. For the next 3 months, it will be my bread and butter. Okay, then I'll ask someone to bring the hen over. Before you go in, you should cultivate your relationship with it. Otherwise, it will be frightened and won't lay eggs for a few days. That won't be good. Not long after, Tangwa arranged for someone to bring over a beautiful and sturdy hen with smooth feathers. In order to make it convenient for the hen to retire, Tangwa specially rented a house here. Before joining the cast, Yu Wei lived with the hen every day. He read the chicken manual again. There was no feed in the wild, but this was not a problem. Tangwa had already thought of this problem. Her hen was actually a free-range chicken that grew up in the mountains. When she decided to let Yu Wei participate in the show, she thought that he would have to bring an old hen with him. At the beginning, she ordered someone to buy 20 chicks for the chicken farmers and let them raise them in the mountains. In the end, she chose the best among them. Therefore, there was no need to worry that the hen would be lonely and not eat or drink. As long as there was water, grass, and insects, the hen would be able to live. Yu Wei also knew how to use some wild grass as chicken feed. There was no problem at all. Tangwa had also taken Yu Wei to practice fishing and catching prawns. When the time came, the bones of the fish and prawns could be ground into powder and given to the hen to eat. It would definitely be able to live healthily. System. The host has been a chicken farm owner before. This is nothing. In that world, not only did they raise chickens, but they also did a lot of research on raising other delicious foods. He felt that Yu Wei was very lucky to have met the host. Over the past 10 days, Yu Wei had gotten along very well with the old hen. He had already started to treat the old hen as a pet and a companion of his. In the past, he had always wanted to raise a dog, but the dog needed someone to walk it, and he had to make a living. It was not like a big star who had someone to take care of it, so he gave up the idea. He didn't expect that by a freak combination of factors, he would actually raise a chicken, and it was a very good one. He gave this old mother a name, Little Flower. This was because the color of the old hen's feathers was especially beautiful, just like a blooming flower. What surprised Yu Wei even more was that Xiao Huahua laid 2 eggs every day, one in the morning and one at night. The quality of the eggs was completely fine. He felt like he had picked up a treasure. No, it should be said that his manager had given him a big treasure. She had already made up her mind. When she went to the island, even if she didn't eat enough, she had to take good care of Little Flower. The previous season had ended a few days ago. The next step was for the crew to clean up the island, removing all traces of the previous artistes. They were not allowed to leave behind any trash or anything that the artists behind could use. All the celebrities had surveillance cameras following them. Other than the places where they slept and went to the toilet, it wasn't difficult to clean up. Most of the artistes wouldn't go too far. There were many insects on the island, especially many female artistes, who had a natural fear of insects. The male artiste who had persisted for 2 months in the previous season had lost a total of 40 kilograms when he was picked up. Chapter 4185. The audience watching the live broadcast had seen with their own eyes what this male artist had gone through. Life on an isolated island was different from what they had imagined. They could only rely on themselves for everything. Many artists did not have the skills to survive unexpected situations. In the early stages, they could still support each other. However, the crew had a rule that if an artist wanted to eat or use another artist's things, they had to barter. The value of the items exchanged could not be too different. In other words, they did not encourage free help here. This rule won the hearts of many audience members. What they could not stand the most was that some artists would always get help for some reason. They were here to survive in the wild, not to enjoy help. Because this show was open to everyone, this rule was set to prevent some people from cheating. Any artist who secretly gave items or food on this island would be against the rules. They would be warned twice on the live broadcast. The third time, they would be directly eliminated. Although no one had succeeded in 3 months on this island, many people had increased their popularity because of this. Of course, there were also people who were ridiculed because of this. Some artists who had a fixed image would not participate in this show. The crew did not seem to lack money or popularity. The easiest to see here were ordinary people, internet celebrities, some veteran artists who had been in this industry for a long time but had not become popular, and finally, some newcomers who wanted to make a name for themselves. Famous artists appeared less often. After half a month, the crew of Survival on an Island finally finished cleaning up the island and was ready to start the next season. Whether they were holding their phones or sitting in front of their computers, the audience in front of the TV was waiting with anticipation. Until now, they still did not know who would participate in this season's Survival on an Island. There were 100 participants in a season. It seemed like a lot, but in fact, less than half of them could last for 10 days. Basically, there were fewer personal scenes in the first 10 days, unless it was a particularly outstanding scene. In the beginning, these people who went to the island would choose to cooperate and look for wild vegetables and food together. Later on, this kind of life became boring and boring. The feeling of wanting to eat meat but not being able to eat it, and there was no entertainment every day, so not many people could really stay. When Tangwa brought Yu Wei there was already a sea of people. There were also many entertainment reporters following and filming outside. They were looking forward to finding familiar faces in the entertainment industry among the people participating in the reality show. When Yu Wei appeared, Many people's gazes fell on him. Yu Jiwei wasn't short, but he wasn't tall either. He was more than 1.75 meters tall, but less than 1.8 meters tall. Anyway, he couldn't be a long-legged brother. But on the surface, he looked like a very energetic young man. Also, his skin was wheat-colored. It was rare to see such a young artist with wheat-colored skin in the industry. Most of them were old cured meats, and they preferred this kind of skin color. Many of the entertainment reporters were a little puzzled. Was this an amateur? She had an extraordinary temperament. They couldn't let go of any opportunity, so they still took a photo of Yu Jiwei and took the opportunity to search for him on the internet. Then, he discovered Yu Jiwei's identity. So it's him. His acting skills aren't bad. It's just that he's been in the industry for 1 or 2 years and hasn't made any waves. His looks aren't bad either, but he doesn't leave much of an impression. But now, it looks more recognizable than before. Chapter 4186. Not only that, I feel that his figure is not bad. Look at his arms, they feel very strong. His body is not as thin as before. Forget it. He's a person in the industry after all. He's afraid of being filmed. His image will change drastically. Maybe he can ride on some popularity. Yu Jiwei had long been used to the cameras, but it was the first time so many cameras were filming him. His expression was natural as he followed the queue. They went over by boat. At the entrance, there was a rare personal camera shot from the first 10 days. When he walked to the inspection area, the live broadcast camera fell on him. The staff was checking his luggage. He had brought clothes and toilet paper according to the rules. After the staff checked, he said, "No problem." Then, "May I ask what 3 things you're going to bring to the isolated island this time?" The host asked. Yu Jiwei said, "Knife?" He brought a machete. It was very thick and very sharp. It was the kind of machete that could cut trees. The host was surprised. "This is the first time I've seen someone bring such a knife. This should be a machete, right?"
Yes.
"Then what's the second thing?" Yu Jiwei took out a pot. This pot was a wok type. The bottom of the pot was flat. He thought that he might be able to fry fish slices or something. A flat ground was more convenient. The host was not surprised by this. Many celebrities would bring a pot, not only to cook things, but also to be able to hold and use as a bowl. "Then what's the third thing you brought?" Yu Jiwei carried an old hen over from his assistant's side. "My little friend, Xiao Huahua." Although all the audience was very curious about the things that the participants brought, when Yu Jiwei carried a hen, the bullet screen was like rain. It quickly floated out and filled all the screens. Chicken. He actually brought a chicken. That chicken is quite good-looking. Who is this person? If you look carefully, he looks all right. Especially his smile. I think it's quite good. This brother looks a little familiar. I think I've seen him somewhere before. He shouldn't be an ordinary person. Yu Jiwei, this is Yu Jiwei. When Yu Jiwei was participating in the show, his Weibo was updated at the same time. The few fans all knew about it and hurried over to take a look. When they saw people asking, they typed out Yu Jiwei's information. Brother, good luck." As for the other male artists, their fans would affectionately call them big brother, little brother, and so on. But when it came to Yu Jiwei, he was the elder brother. This was because, in front of Yu Jiwei, the fans felt that calling him big brother and little brother was very awkward. Now, Yu Jiwei's face made them wonder if this was their brother. "Brother Yu is the best. I thought you disappeared to do something. It turns out you lost your chicken." "Brother, did you think that acting was a dead end, so you decided to open a chicken farm? Are you here to advertise?" Although many people were curious about Yu Jiwei bringing along a chicken, there was no lack of haters everywhere. So it turns out that she's just a small-time celebrity. That's understandable. She's probably trying to make a name for herself. That's right. What's wrong with celebrities these days? Why don't they just focus on acting? Why do they have to do this kind of thing? I'm not watching anymore. It's boring. At that moment, the host snapped back to reality and hurriedly asked, "May I ask why you chose to bring a chicken?" Vertex. House to build a house was hut, It was just a little to build a house. It was just to build a house to build a house. It was to build a house. To build a house to build a house. If one were to ask him how he would stay for the first few days, of course, he would use eggs to exchange with other people. It shouldn't be too much for an egg to stay for a night. When the audience heard that Yu Jiwei could build houses, they became more and more curious about him. A fan. I suspect that Brother Yu really thinks that acting is a dead end, so he want to raise chickens. Look, he can even build his own house now. Raising chickens is also good. Maybe Brother Yu will post some updates about raising chickens from time to time. I wonder if Brother Yu will give fans a discount if they buy eggs. Xiaohuahua is really growing well. Her feathers are so soft that I'm a little envious. She must have been raised well. Following the discussions of the fans, spectators, and trolls, all the contestants were sent to the isolated island 3 hours later. The staff quickly chased everyone off the ship. Then, they turned around and left. The participants looked at the departing ship. They really looked a little pitiful. This place is too clean. The crew is so ruthless. They cleaned up all the traces of their previous lives. They didn't even leave a bowl behind. Chapter 4188. Didn't we understand it before we came? This is how the production team is. It's impossible to take advantage of a loophole. Other than Yu Jiwei, everyone brought tents. They looked at Yu Jiwei silently, then went to set up their tents and started to form teams. At most, 5 people would form a team, and at least 2 people would form a team. There were also many people who didn't want to form a team. They had seen too many teams, but in the end, because of things that happened, many people didn't want to form a team. Moreover, if they were eliminated, they would have to take away what belonged to them. There was no benefit at all. So far, no one had the intention to form a team with Yu Jiwei, even if he really brought a chicken. Yu Jiwei only had 1 chicken, and it only laid 1 egg a day. If he wanted to eat it, he would definitely have to exchange. It was impossible for him to take advantage of others. There were many people here. In addition to tents and pots, some people also chose to bring food. Although it was a fixed amount, it could last for a few days. They weren't willing to exchange food. Yu Jiwei didn't mind this. He found a suitable place to build a thatched hut and took root there. He got some stones and placed them there. From today onwards, he would live here. Taking advantage of the time, he needed to find tree trunks and hay to build a thatched hut. He tied Xiaohuahua's rope to his waist. Wherever he went, Xiaohuahua would follow him and catch insects on the ground to eat. The miniature flying camera had also followed Yu Jiwei. Although the main camera of the live broadcast was for the public, users with phones and computers could choose who to watch. Those who were interested in Yu Jiwei all clicked on his camera. They saw him wandering around the forest just now and didn't know what he was going to do. Tanghua was also looking at her phone. When she saw Yu Jiwei holding a machete and chopping a withered tree, she wasn't worried anymore. She planned to observe Yu Jiwei for a week. When he got used to living on the island, it was time to look for artists. She only had 3 artists under her, so she felt a little disadvantaged. System. Dear host, I want to remind you of something. What is it? Did you forget something very important? Tanghua didn't feel that she had forgotten anything. Did I? Oh, someone is going to cry in the toilet. Dear host, you have no conscience. You forgot about me again. The system sighed. You only care about raising cows. Your big cutie is going to cry. If we haven't met, it means that we're not fated to meet in this lifetime. Aren't I still busy? System. Scumbag woman. I'm a scumbag. It didn't rain that night, which was good news for Yu Jiwei. If it rained, he would have no place to stay. He tried his best to avoid other people, especially artists. Otherwise, if he got too close and the other party didn't invite him into the tent to rest, he would probably be scolded for being cold and indifferent by the audience. If she was asked to rest in the tent, the audience would scold her for putting on a show. In any case, it was wrong whether he did it or not. Therefore, most of the people who came to participate in this program wanted to have a good reputation. So they tried their best to set up their tents as far away from the others as possible. However, there were also some people who wanted to make a name for themselves. They came over and asked Yu Jiwei if he wanted to enter his tent to rest together. They were all men, and the tent was big enough for them to stay for a night. Of course, Yu Jiwei had to refuse. Even if he wanted to stay for a night, he had to exchange something for it. Otherwise, he would be taking advantage of her, which was against the rules. Chapter 4189. He had already thought it through. Before the house was built and it didn't rain, he said that he wouldn't ask for help from others. It wasn't that he wanted to be alone, but at this time, everything wasn't ready yet. It was easy for people to think that he wanted to take advantage of others. His main purpose for coming here was to show his ability to survive in the wild. Secondly, it was to socialize. As for socializing, he wasn't in a hurry now. He would slowly show it in the future. He had to show it inadvertently. It was summer, and there were still many mosquitoes at night. Even if he hid in the tent, even if the mosquitoes didn't go in, some insects might get in. When he was free in the afternoon, Yu Jiwei first found a lot of grass that could repel mosquitoes and insects, as well as some dry grass that could be burned. He found a person who seemed to be easy to talk to and had a fire. He exchanged the mosquito-repellent grass for some fire. He even dug a pit where he was going to build the house to keep the fire. As long as he added some withered tree trunks from time to time, the fire would not go out. When he wanted to start a fire, he could use it at any time. The audience naturally noticed Yu Jiwei's actions. After the person who exchanged the mosquito-repellent grass with him burned it according to Yu Jiwei's method, the insects around the tent automatically moved away. Some smart people came to ask Yu Jiwei what kind of grass it was. If they gathered together like this, they might be able to get 2 shots. Yu Jiwei didn't have any objections to these small actions. Everyone knew what was going on here. The audience knew at a glance whether it was good or bad. It didn't matter even if someone stole the limelight. He believed that after a month, there wouldn't be many people left here. After 2 months, it would be a miracle if there were 5 left. As for close to 3 months, it would probably be his personal scenes. So, was he afraid of being stolen? Yu Jiwei acted indifferently and didn't seem to be in a hurry. He seemed to know how to survive in the wild and indeed attracted a lot of fans. Yu Jiwei slept quite well at night. Previously, he had found banana leaves in the forest. Those who had seen banana leaves before knew that this thing could be raised above one's head to avoid the rain when it rained. At least it could prevent one's hair from getting wet. He had plucked a few banana leaves and used hay to build a chicken coop for Xiao Huahua. He even covered it with banana leaves. Xiao Huahua seemed to be quite satisfied. When the audience saw this, they were amused. They felt that what Yu Jiwei said was true. He really did treat Xiao Huahua as his breadwinner. As for the other banana leaves, he placed them on top of his head. Using the tree trunk as a support, he could make a simple small tent to prevent the fog from getting into his hair at night, preventing him from catching a cold and having a headache. Sure enough, when Yu Jiwei woke up in the morning, there was some moisture on his body, but his head was dry and refreshing. For the entire night, even if they couldn't see anything, many viewers who couldn't sleep were still willing to watch the live broadcast. At about 6:00 in the morning, the audience watching Yu Jiwei on camera heard the sound of giggling. They perked up. Wasn't this Xiao Huahua? They felt that there was something wrong with Xiao Huahua's voice. When they looked over, they realized that Xiao Huahua was actually giggling at Yu Jiwei. The bullet screen immediately started to flood. Xiao Huahua must be hungry. Brother Yu, this is probably the first time you've been woken up by a chicken, right? I thought the hen would crow. Chapter 4190. Yu Jiwei was indeed woken up by Xiao Huahua's voice. However, even if Xiao Huahua didn't scream, he was about to wake up. He was different from the audience in the live stream. He understood why Xiao Huahua would scream like that. Just as he was about to get up, Xiao Huahua actually crawled onto his stomach and grabbed his clothes. Is Xiao Huahua waking me up? Do you have a ticket to the island? Let's not talk too much. Is there anyone who wants to team up to steal Xiao Huahua? Count me in. +1. +10086. Plus phone number. Yu Jiwei caught Xiao Huahua, who was stepping on his stomach, and stroked its feathers. Okay, I'll go take a look right away. I know you've done a good deed. Yu Jiwei's voice made the bullet screen pause for a moment. The audience who reacted asked, "What do you mean by doing a good deed?" Of course, some people quickly guessed if Xiao Huahua had laid an egg. Xiao Huahua didn't lay an egg last night. Yu Jiwei guessed that Xiao Huahua wasn't used to the new place, so it laid an egg earlier than usual. Sure enough, Yu Jiwei took 2 steps to Xiao Huahua's nest and picked up a warm egg from inside. He patted Xiao Huahua's back again. Xiao Huahua is really amazing. I'll take you for a walk later and catch bugs to eat. The bullet screen floated up again. Fuck. Fuck. It's actually laying an egg. What kind of chicken is this? Does it have to ask for praise after laying an egg? You don't know the first part, right? Hens will cluck loudly when they lay eggs. It means that they laid an egg and are waiting for the owner to praise them and feed them with food. So that's how it is. If hens are so cute, I want to raise one too. Those who want to buy pets, hurry up. I promise that I'll make a lot of money selling chickens in the next few months. Speaking of which, is Brother Yu really not here to promote his chicken farm? Well, I asked around yesterday. Brother Yu doesn't raise chickens. Ah, you mean you can't eat discounted eggs? Brother Yu probably has a group of fake fans waiting to eat discounted eggs. My heart aches for Brother Yu for a second. Speaking of which, it's such a pity not to eat discounted eggs. Yu Jiwei didn't eat the egg. Instead, he put it into the suitcase. In the first few days, there was no problem with his body's energy, so he could use it more. He would save it for 2 days and eat it after a few days. When the time came, he could use these eggs to exchange for some items that he needed. He took Xiao Huahua out for a walk and picked up some useful hay, dead wood, and some edible plants and wild fruits. More and more viewers were watching Yu Jiwei. He had picked up a lot of things in the morning. In addition, he also went to the beach to catch a few prawns. He didn't bring any salt. Among the 100 people, there were probably quite a few who had brought some. When the time came, they could exchange for it. Chapter 4191. With such a huge manager behind him, he couldn't be arrogant. Tanghua, who was watching Yu Jiwei on the screen, received a call from the company. Interview me? Yes. They want to know Xiao Yu's story. It's a good thing for an artist to know so much. Louis Mao said, Xiao Tang, you really surprised me. I don't know how you did it. I didn't have much hope for Yu Jiwei to participate in this reality show. He has a flat personality and is not outstanding. It's easy for him to be taken advantage of in this kind of show. Previously, I thought that if he could last for 2 months, he might be able to do something. I didn't expect him to give us so many surprises on the first day. Tanghua thought for a while and decided to interview him. For the past 6 months, Xiao Yu has been improving himself. Louis Mao didn't care about this. What he cared about was that Yu Jiwei was very different from before. Tanghua had 2 stars under her. She was clearly an ordinary artist who didn't have much of a splash. How did she suddenly become so outstanding? He knew that it must have something to do with the improvement that Tanghua mentioned. As for how he improved himself, it was a secret, so he couldn't ask too much. What the company needed to do now was to use the resources in their hands to support Yu Jiwei. Luckily, Yu Jiwei and He had different ways of doing things. It wasn't difficult for them to make decisions. No. Louis Mao suddenly thought of something. Tanghua had 3 stars under her. Although Jiang Qiqi hadn't made any achievements yet, she had successfully auditioned for the second female lead role. This second female lead role was fought for by Jiang Qiqi herself and not by the company's resources. After being in the industry for so many years, Louis Mao felt that it wasn't a coincidence that Tanghua had 3 artists. 2 of them were ordinary artists. Louis Mao must have done something in the past 6 months. Just look at Yu Jiwei's performance. Not to mention ordinary people. Even some professionals were full of praises for him. Xiao Tang, why didn't you apply for funding for their training? Since it was so useful, it meant that the money was well spent. The company wasn't stingy. The better the artists, the more the company earned. Under the premise of protecting the company's interests, giving the artists benefits would help both parties to cooperate happily. Their company was small, so they had to keep an artist like her and not disappoint her. Tanghua did not expect that the company would take the initiative to bring up this matter. However, Louis Mao's attitude was normal considering the 3 artists under her who were about to rise. Then I'll get my assistant to sign up for one. Tanghua thought for a while. The only funding she could apply for was when she took Yu Jiwei and Jiang Qiqi abroad to practice shooting. In China, the conditions were limited, and some things were not allowed. It was much more convenient overseas. There were all kinds of models, and both of them could learn about them. If it was expensive, it was still very expensive. Their study budget for half a month was more than 600,000 yuan. Since the company had already said so, then he should apply. Otherwise, wouldn't the company feel uneasy if they felt that he didn't put in any effort? That's right, Louis Mao said with a smile. The 3 people under you are good. Don't treat them badly. Don't worry about the future. When they are in our company, it's a win-win situation for them. In the future, they will go to other places or go solo. It's inevitable in this circle. Chapter 4192. Tanghua felt that Louis Mao was thinking too far ahead. Indeed, some things were bound to happen. Because they wanted to restrain their artists, they might end up in a bad situation. They might not win. Maybe it was bullying. Many big companies didn't care about that. They just wanted to squeeze their artists as much as possible. Not to mention other things. This company was indeed different. Because of this, Tanghua didn't want Yuji to go solo for them. She was sure that the 3 of them would listen to her when it came to career development. Manager Liu, you're thinking too much. They've just started. Louis Mao also felt that he was talking too much. He said a few words of concern and told Tanghua when those people would come to interview her. Then, he hung up. Not long after, Louis Mao received another call. Tanghua's assistant came to claim the expenses for training artists. When Louis Mao saw the bill, he felt a little dizzy. More than 600,000 yuan, and it was only for half a month's study abroad. All the projects were clearly written in the bill. It wasn't that he was worried about the money. He just felt that he had overestimated the company's ability. Just the study alone cost more than 600,000 yuan. What about the other things that Yuji knew? Jiang Qiqi's martial arts, musical instruments, and Heilei's acting lessons? Manager Liu, do I need to claim this? Louis Mao gritted his teeth. Claim it. Claim it all. He was the one who said it. He couldn't go back on his word. Besides, he already felt that Tanghua wasn't an ordinary person. How could an ordinary manager think of training an actor like this? When he thought of how Yu Jiwei and Jiang Qiqi had touched all kinds of real things, he felt a chill down his spine. Tanghua didn't care about Louis Mao's reaction. 2 days later, she received an interview. The other party was indeed here for Yu Jiwei. The first question was how Yu Jiwei changed so much. Tanghua, because he used half a year to be reborn. He improved himself and presented his best to the audience. Then, did brother you learn those survival skills because of island survival? Tanghua admitted, of course. Since he learned it, he must try it. Miss Tang, how long do you think brother you can last on the island? At this moment, in front of Tanghua, the live broadcast of Yuji building the house was still in front of her. The framework of the entire house was almost complete. I think he can stay as long as he wants. Tanghua wasn't lying. With Yu Jiwei's current ability to survive, even if the crew didn't take him away, he wouldn't have a problem surviving there. The reporters felt that Tanghua's words were too exaggerated. However, this answer was good. It was another piece of explosive news. Tanghua knew that if this news got out, it would cause a lot of people to scold her. This was normal. The online environment was like that. No matter what an artist did, whether it was good or bad, they would be criticized. Many people scolded them for saying that celebrities were bad. Celebrities are good, but there are also many people who criticize them. The current internet environment was indeed very confusing. Since she did not need to spend any money to gain popularity, how could Tanghua not accept it? The onlookers would realize that Yu Jiwei was indeed the one who was left. She was telling the truth. Not only that, but he could also live well on the island. This was the most infuriating thing. Sure enough, not long after, Yu Jiwei's manager said that Yu Jiwei could survive on the island, which caused countless people to criticize him. Especially when they watched the live broadcast every day, there were people who criticized Yu Jiwei for putting on a show. However, this was a 24-hour live broadcast. Except for some private things like sleeping, going to the bathroom, and so on, Everything else was under the eyes of the public. They could only criticize Yu Jiwei for being arrogant. Chapter 4193. There were even more people who liked Yu Jiwei and Xiao Huahua. Regarding the current situation, the company even specially told Tang Wen not to suppress this situation. When it rebounded, Yu Jiwei would gain both fame and fortune. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that Yu Jiwei was indeed doing well. Now, he had already exchanged the items he needed with many people. He could even make salt himself, although it would take a long time. He could also identify the various plants on this island and what they were used for. It could be said that the people who participated this time were all lucky. From time to time, they could exchange for things from him. At this time, Yu Jiwei had already survived on the island for 20 days. During this period, there were people quitting every day. Until now, less than half of the people were left. The rules were too harsh, and these people couldn't persevere for various reasons. Tanghua was already looking for artists. She didn't want to bring a newcomer into the company, so the company asked her to choose an artist, but she rejected it. Tongzi, help me collect those who are hardworking, have good acting skills, but don't accept the unspoken rules in the industry and can't become popular no matter what. Or someone who was once popular, but was eliminated due to environmental reasons. Okay, Madam Host. After the system's analysis, it found many suitable people for Tanghua. She browsed through their information one by one. In the end, she chose 3 people, 2 female artists and 1 male artist. The 2 female artists had rejected the so-called unspoken rules and only wanted to act in peace. Until now, they could only play some small roles. One of them was especially pitiful and was now older. Even if they got a good role, it might be snatched away by other people in the industry. There was no other way. They had no money, no background, and no backing. They could only suffer. One of the female artists was younger. Her name was Shuxiang, and she was 22 years old this year. The other female artist was older. Her name was In Zhuyun, and she was almost 40 years old. In Zhuyun's age was very awkward. The age of female artists in this industry had a short shelf life. After a certain age, many roles could not be played anymore. Even if those with resources and capital acted, it was easy to attract ridicule and cause their reputation to collapse. It was also easy to fall out of the show. Shuxiang was very beautiful. She had the face of a first love and a standard height of 1.65 meters. It was not difficult for her to act with anyone. At her current age, she still had a long way to go. As for In Zhuyun, she might not be suitable to play the female lead anymore. Even if she maintained her youthful appearance, playing the role of a young female lead would still be very difficult. However, Tanghua had her own position and would find the most suitable one for them. The last one was a male celebrity who was once popular but was no longer popular. This male artist's name was Hao Yi. In fact, he was not too old this year. He was almost 30 years old, which was the golden age for male artists. He used to be a singer and was idolized by countless girls. After her debut, she had acted in some TV dramas. Her acting wasn't too good, but it was passable. At least, the TV dramas she acted in back then had good ratings. There were 3 main reasons why Hao Yi was outdated. The first point came from himself. He had always wanted to change his career. When he was young, it was fine to be a little fresh meat. But now that he was old, it would ruin people's good impression of him. It was meaningless for his future. The second point came from the company. The company did not agree with his transformation. They felt that he was worth a lot now and wanted to squeeze more money out of him while he was popular. The third point also came from himself. Although he was labeled as a little fresh meat, he was actually quite good at singing and dancing. Chapter 4194. Hao Yi had always felt that he spoke with his works. After entering the entertainment industry, he had been acting seriously. He wanted to get rid of the previous impression. He wanted his fans to see more of his works. But now, some fans were very nosy. They felt that this was their idol, and they had to develop in the direction they wanted him to develop. What the fans could not accept was that when they were interviewed, they were asked about his views on choosing a partner. The host asked Hao Yi if he had a partner in the future. Most celebrities would definitely say that they did not have time to think about their relationships. They just wanted to focus on their career. Haoyi was different. He said frankly that if he met someone he liked and succeeded, he would announce it immediately. To his fans, this was a killer move. Some people used this issue to expose Haoyi. They said that he already had a partner and that it was a secret marriage. There were even pictures. Of course, these were all rumors. During that period, there were all kinds of searches about leaving Haoyi's fans and boycotting him. The company asked Haoyi to clarify that he did not have a partner and that he would not consider relationships for the next 10 years. Haoyi did not want to do that. In the contract they signed, there was no such thing. Both parties signed a contract. Wasn't it about working together? The company always forced him to do things that he did not like to do. Coincidentally, his fans were lousy and he was not willing to do that. He had been in this industry because he liked it. Now, he was unhappy. He would rather be frozen than listen to the company's arrangements. Hence, it was over. It was over for many years. The system found this person because his contract with his previous company had just expired. Now, he was ready to do what he liked. After Tanghua saw this, she felt that this child was really not easy. He would rather live a poor life than give in. He was also a ruthless person. She liked such a ruthless person. Hence, she poached him. The system found out that their contracts had expired, and they had terminated their contracts with their companies. Among them, In Zhuyun had already left her company. She was slightly older and did not have much value. Many companies were not willing to sign her. The current In Zhuyun had been in the industry for many years and could still play some older roles. Her scenes were not bad, but they were not outstanding and did not leave a deep impression. In Zhuyun's image was actually not bad. When Tanghua saw her, she found that this woman, who was almost 40 years old, gave off an elegant and decent feeling. When In Zhuyun heard that Tanghua wanted to sign her, she was very surprised. At her age, she was not famous and had no value. Why would anyone want to sign an artist like her? Why not give it a try? Our company's contracts are more flexible, and the artists I manage are not messy. I've already applied to the company. I can sign a 2-year contract with you first. After 2 years, if you think it's suitable, we can continue. This was something that Tanghua had fought for. Right now, she had 3 artistes who were slowly rising in popularity. The 3 that she wanted to sign were not outstanding artists, so they just let Tanghua do as she pleased. If they could unearth it, it would be good for the company. However, when it came to training funds, they might not be so generous. The company didn't support idle people, nor did it do charity. Signing Zhua Xiang and In Zhuyun went very smoothly. In the end, Tanghua went to Haoyi's house. It was a very ordinary neighborhood, and there were no paparazzi. Tanghua saw what Haoyi had done all these years and felt that he did not regret it. Haoyi was 28 years old now. 7 years had passed since his era, and he had long been forgotten. Tanghua walked to Haoyi's door and knocked. The Peak. Chapter 4195. The door opened, and a neatly dressed man appeared in front of Tanghua. Tanghua noticed that the way this man looked at her was a little vigilant at first, as if he had confirmed something, and then relaxed a little. "May I ask who you are?" "I'm your manager from Morning Star Entertainment." Tanghua took out her business card and handed it to him. "You're Haoyi, right? Miss Tang, please come in." After seeing the business card, Haoyi completely let down his guard. Tanghua followed him in and stared at Haoyi's back. She asked the system, "Little Tongzi, did you miss out on any important information? Haoyi seems a little strange. He looks a little like he's guarding against a brainless fan." Logically speaking, Haoyi had been dead for about 7 years. The people who were his fans had basically all grown up. If a person disappeared from the screen, they should have forgotten about him. If even the entertainment reporters didn't want to follow him, would the fans still remember him and come to stalk him? System. "Dear host, when I was investigating Haoyi, I had an idea." What idea? This little system was getting more and more ideas. It even learned to hold back and keep her in suspense. It's like this. "Dear host, aren't you very busy? As a system, I've always been very concerned about your marriage. Even if there's a sea of people, I'm still looking for the whereabouts of your cutie. I believe that with his personality, he'll definitely appear. It doesn't matter if he appears a little later. He'll come to your side in the end. So, whenever the dear host takes a fancy to an artist, I'll investigate. Are you sure that Hao Yi is him? Tangwa didn't know whether to praise or laugh. But this time, the system hit the nail on the head and guessed correctly. After all the data analysis, there's an 80% chance that Hao Yi is the cutie. The other 20% is a special factor that even the system can't analyze. Then tell me, how are you so sure that he's him? First of all, this guy's character has to be special. Hao Yi is special. There are so many fresh meat debuts in the entertainment industry, but it's rare to see someone as tough as him. It's rare to see someone as miserable as him. It's even rarer to see someone like him who's famous but strangely cool. Little Tongzi, hurry up and say it. Also, this guy has been single for 28 years. He hasn't even held a girl's hand before, let alone have a girlfriend. Dear host, why do you think this is? Isn't she keeping her chastity for you? What if he isn't? Actually, I think Hao Yi is not bad. If not, and that fellow doesn't appear, does Madam Host want to change your taste? Of course, the system was joking. He was 90% confident now. All right, I'll sign him first. Tangwa sized up Hao Ye's house. This house was in an old neighborhood, and there were no luxurious decorations in the house. Everything was simple, and it could be seen that his life was relatively ordinary. Even if it was an ordinary day, the whole house was tidy and tidy, unlike many people who couldn't bear the ups and downs and ended up living a terrible life. The system did not tell Tangwa about this. She wanted to know more about it on her own. Knowing the story behind every artist was the basic requirement of a manager. System, go ahead. Chapter 4196. Miss Tang, you said over the phone that you want to sign me? Hao Yi took the initiative to ask. In his situation, there was still a normal company that was willing to sign him. Of course, he was curious and had some expectations. Even though he had been frozen for 7 years, he didn't lose his confidence at all. Actually, it wasn't that he didn't have anything to do after being frozen for so many years. It was just that the company didn't care about anything. Not only did he not get any support, many people didn't dare to use him. Rather than being frozen, it was more accurate to say that he was banned. But in some small occasions, taking on some private jobs to support himself wasn't a problem. It was just that he couldn't become popular. If he showed any signs of becoming popular again, the company would interfere. Anyway, he changed places again and again. In the end, he really couldn't stay in the industry and could only give up. At first, he could still act in some small roles. Later on, because some people didn't want him to touch this industry, they spent a lot of money to replace him. The director was also very helpless. He didn't want to implicate others, so he could only temporarily leave that industry. He had been waiting for the day when the contract ended. This wait had been 7 years. Finally, he was free. Back then, when his uncle signed that contract for him, he took away 7 years of his youth. It also made him understand that there was no reason for relatives to cheat you sometimes. If he had seriously read the contract himself, perhaps he wouldn't have signed with that company. Tangwa knew about this experience. Yes, I want to sign you. Miss Tang, do you know about my experience? Hao Yi asked neither hurriedly nor slowly. Actually, he wasn't too sure if anyone would cause trouble after the contract ended. Qinxing wasn't a big company. If someone wanted to continue messing with him, this company might not be able to take the pressure. I know that in these 7 years, as long as you've been involved in a career in the industry, you won't have a good ending. Since Miss Tang knows, then you should know the consequences of signing me, Hao Yi said seriously. Hao Yi was 28 years old this year. To a man, this was the golden age. The person in front of her was even more handsome than what Tangwa saw on the screen. He was dressed meticulously. It was obvious that he was here for her today. This showed that he was a very polite person. Moreover, he valued today's matter very much. If this person hadn't been set up by the company and if no one had messed with him, he might have become a popular actor now. Since I dare to sign a contract with you, I can take care of all your troubles. Tangwa was very confident when she said that. However, Hao Yi said, to be honest, I've learned about Morningstar Entertainment. If I didn't have a pile of trouble on me, I would indeed be very willing to work with such a company, especially with Miss Tang. But if my troubles continue, Morningstar Entertainment won't be able to solve them. They might even get burned. You even tried to understand me? Tangwa asked. System, host, please be more serious. You're talking about a company, so don't act like a curious little girl. Be serious, be serious. You are a manager now. How you didn't understand the question, but he still nodded. Yes, Miss Tang is very different from other agents. Other than He Lei, the other two artists were mediocre, but one of them was already on the verge of becoming popular. He had watched Living Alone before. Yu Wei was on an isolated island, interacting with other people. When people asked him why he knew so much, he would always say that these classes were arranged by his manager and that he was very grateful to him. Vertex. Chapter 4197. How many managers nowadays would ask their artistes to stop for half a year to arrange classes for them to improve themselves? They probably wanted their artistes to take on more advertisements and endorsements so that they could rise up quickly. This wasn't wrong. It was human nature. He just felt that if they had known each other earlier, their development might have been different. He still felt a little regretful that he couldn't work with her. Thinking about how she was a few years younger than him, how he laughed. Even if they had known each other earlier, she was probably still a high school student. They wouldn't have been able to work together. Our company can't help you solve your problem, but I can. Tangwa smiled and said something unbelievable. The company's strength doesn't represent my personal strength. Today, we're here to talk about this. I won't consider anything else. If you're willing to work with me and you're satisfied with the contract, we'll sign it. I'll bear all the consequences. Tangwa had guessed that Hao Ye's 7 years of difficulties were mostly caused by someone. She didn't believe that a big company would be so free as to spend 7 years of their time and energy to deal with an artiste who was already dead. Someone else was probably the reason why Hao Ye couldn't make a comeback. She wanted to drag little Tongzi out and beat him up, but he was still keeping her in suspense. System, hide. Tangwa's words were arrogant. Hao Ye could hear her confidence. Morningstar Entertainment's strength didn't represent her personal strength. Didn't this mean that her personal strength was stronger than the company? Miss Tang, you're not joking? No. Are you willing to sign the contract? Hao Ye was tempted. This was a very good company, and they even had a very good manager. There was even a voice in his heart telling him to sign it. He believed that she could do it. Tangwa pushed the contract to Hao Ye. 2 years trial. Hao Ye was even more surprised. There were many artistes who went solo after their contracts expired. The lowest contract now was at least 5 years. He had never heard of a 2-year contract. Hao Ye picked up the contract and read it seriously. After reading it, he was even more shocked. What kind of contract was this? He wanted to find loopholes in it, such as the word games that were used to trick him. No, this contract was open and above board. He felt that there was no contract in the industry that was more conscientious than this. This guy is really careful. Is he still afraid that the host will trick him? Even if he did, it would be for the rest of his life. In his dreams. I've been scammed before. Now that I look at it seriously, isn't that normal? Hao Ye had been tricked by his uncle. Even his relatives had tricked him. We've only just met, and we're still in a cooperative relationship. Read the contract carefully. This is being responsible for yourself. System. That's very reasonable. He just felt that the host was siding with Hao Ye. Host. Do you know what he does for extra income? Aren't you going to be a host once in a while? Little Tongzi, did you not give me all the information again? To maintain a sense of mystery, I just want the host to be greatly surprised. Actually, this fellow has another job. Because of the scam on the contract, he went to study law. Now, he's even helping people look at contracts. Tangwa, Tongzi, are you asking for a beating? Dear host, that's all. That's all I've hidden from you. I've told you everything else. I just wanted to see you surprised. I didn't expect your reaction to be so calm. You've had too many good days. Oh right, isn't 111 going to send you an installation package? Vertex. Chapter 4198. 111 has just entered the next world. Wait for it to stabilize. It should be soon. The system was also looking forward to what kind of installation package 111 would give him. Could it be a standalone installation package? That would be fine too. He was already a little tired of the small games and the system that he had devoured previously. When he had nothing to do, he would go to the online world and get a game installation package to play. Hao Yi snapped out of his daze and asked Tanghua again, "Miss Tang, are you really willing to sign me?" "Of course. Will you sign it?" Hao Yi gripped the pen tightly. "Since Miss Tang isn't afraid, why should I be?" With that said, Hao Yi signed his name. What other time could be worse than the situation he was in now? If he really couldn't do it, he could just go back to where he started. "Hao Yi, you are my artist now. When can you start?" "Hao Yi, I still have some things to do here. I can finish them all in a week." He still had some contracts to settle. Also, he had to finish his job as a host. Since he had accepted it, he had to finish it. Tanghua put the contract away and didn't leave. "You don't have anything to do today, right?" After receiving Hao Ye's reply, Tanghua said, "When you came in just now, I saw that you were a little nervous. Are you in trouble? Since you're my artist, you have to tell me if you are in trouble. That way, I can help you settle it as soon as possible." "Yes, there is a rather crazy fan who has been following my whereabouts all this time. It has been better in recent years. A while ago, that fan was even crazier. I called the police a few times before the fan finally calmed down. Then I will arrange for a bodyguard to come over tomorrow." Tanghua looked at the tidy house. "Your house is too small. There are only 3 bodyguards and an assistant driver. It probably won't be enough. Why don't you come back with me today? I will arrange your accommodation. If you have any work to do, I will ask the driver to send you there." Hao Yi didn't know why, but he packed a simple luggage and really got into the car with Tanghua. Now, he was sitting in the back with Tanghua. He couldn't help but look at this low-key, luxurious car that was definitely worth millions. Managers these days had such a high starting point. Tanghua wasn't a famous manager, but she still had a driver and a luxurious car to send her around. Could this be the personal strength she was talking about? Let's talk about how after you were frozen by your previous company, your work was repeatedly sabotaged. I think your previous company probably only issued a notice to ban you, but they won't care about you if you take on some small jobs, and they won't really deliberately target you. A worthless artist was not necessary for the company, so why would they waste their resources? Banning Hao Yi had already served as a warning to others. Sister Tanghua's guess is right. Chapter 4199. Tanghua asked, "Who is it?" The system did not look into the details, so she did not know. "Qi Dong." Hao Yi said a name. Tanghua was a little surprised. Qi Dong, a popular A-list actor. He's the king of TV ratings. Every time there's a big male lead script, it'll be sent to him immediately. He's won many awards, but it seems like he's not fated to be a best actor. A few years ago, he wanted to enter the film industry and participated in many big productions, but the results were not good. He was almost criticized by fans for making bad movies and squandering his money. In the end, he gave up trying to enter the film industry to stabilize his position. It's him. From what I know, Qi Dong debuted in the same show as you. There doesn't seem to be any hatred between the two of you. But back then, you seemed to want to suppress him. Could it be because of this hatred? It shouldn't be. In this industry, there were many people who could suppress him back then. It's impossible for him to hold a grudge against everyone. Otherwise, he would be too petty. Who was better than him? When he succeeded, he would take revenge on the other person. Qi Dong would not be able to survive in this industry. It's not that simple. I don't have a grudge against him. It might be because of one thing. Speaking up to this point, Hao Yi paused for a moment. I accidentally saw his private matters. Maybe he felt embarrassed, or maybe there were other reasons, so he held a grudge against me. Do you know Sister Yang? Tanghua asked. Tongzi. Who is Sister Yang? System. Dear host, Sister Yang is a self-made rich woman. She started as a housewife in the countryside. Because of a family dispute, She left her family with nothing. Fortunately, her family pitied her and gave her a bungalow and 3 lambs, hoping that she could raise them to make a living. Sister Yang felt that she could only graze the lambs on the hillside for the rest of her life. She might walk into the grave of another marriage in the future. After more than a year of asking around and learning, she sold the 3 lambs and started to raise pigs. The unparalleled Tang set forth after entering the pig industry. With her diligence, sincerity, and some luck, she slowly became a big pig farmer. Later, she opened the famous 3 Sheep pig farm. The name 3 Sheep came from the 3 little lambs. Before setting up the company, 3 Sheep was also her nickname. When it came to raising pigs, many people would say that she was from a village called 3 Sheep. The pigs raised by her family were not bad. She was sturdy, not watery, and had a conscience. Boss 3 Sheep was also a straightforward person. Doing business with her would not be wrong. The 3 Sheep pig farm has countless varieties of pigs and can satisfy all kinds of people's tastes. The pork that great host ate yesterday came from the 3 Sheep pig farm. After she became successful and famous, Sister Yang rejected many suitors and fell in love with young hunks. These young hunks were her mistresses one after another. Back then, the first person she took a fancy to was your cutie, Hao Yi. Your cutie wants to keep her chastity for you. How can she submit? Fortunately, Sister Yang doesn't force people. After probing a few times, Hao Yi didn't have the intention, so she gave up. She did have feelings for Hao Yi and regretted it for a long time. Tangwa narrowed her eyes. Is this Sister Yang behind Qidong? Yes. So, Qidong instigated Sister Yang to deal with Hao Yi? No. Sister Yang has long forgotten about that. There's no need for her to sign a contract with a small artist. She's busy with her pig business every day. Where would she find the time? She doesn't know that Qidong dealt with Hao Yi. It's just that Qidong used her power to make himself successful and gained many connections in the industry. Everyone would give him some face for Sister Yang's sake. Now that Qidong is even more powerful, it's easy for him to take revenge on a small artist. I see. I thought that in order to promote Hao Yi, I would have to deal with 3 Sheep pig farm first. Fortunately, that's not the case. The pork from 3 Sheep pig farm is really good. It tastes pretty good. System. What do you mean by that? Sister Yang is a straightforward person and likes to make friends. Although she's a pig farmer, no one looks down on her. I heard that she even set up a legal team to help housewives fight lawsuits. Actually, she's not a bad person. She has her principles when it comes to keeping young hunks. If the young hunks want to find a partner, she will end the relationship. Peak. Chapter 4200. That means he's a reasonable person. We're not on the same page. If Qidong wants to block Hao Ye's path, he has to ask me first. Tangwa guessed that Sister Yang probably didn't know about the things Qidong did in the industry. The boss of a large pig farm spent most of his time on property management, so he didn't have time to care about these small things. Tangwa's conversation with the system actually happened in a flash. She came back to her senses and continued Hao Ye's words. Is it Sister Yang from 3 Sheep pig farm? Hao Yi said, it's her. Qidong and Sister Yang are related? Hao Yi nodded. When I first debuted, Sister Yang's people came to me. Sister Yang likes you. Tangwa couldn't help but laugh. This made Hao Yi a little uncomfortable. He quickly said, I didn't agree. Sister Yang's people came a few times, but they didn't bother me when they saw that I wasn't interested. Hao Yi had heard of Sister Yang's reputation before, so he didn't have a bad impression of her, but they weren't on the same side. Sister Yang is behind Qidong, right? This matter had been going on for a long time. Although it wasn't necessarily a secret in the industry, there were still many people who didn't know. Especially when Qidong deliberately avoided it. No one would take the initiative to talk about it. Speaking of which, Qidong had debuted for almost 10 years. He didn't care about relationships for the time being, so he had a lot of fans. 56 with Sister Yang behind him. No one dared to spread any bad rumors. Indeed. Then how did you two become enemies? You're no longer a threat to him, but he still won't let you go? Hao Yi said, It started when Sister Yang's people came to look for me. At that time, Qidong and I were in the same room. Qidong knew that Sister Yang's people came to look for me. He even persuaded me to rely on my own ability to survive in the industry. If I really agreed, it would be a black mark in my history. In other words, he was very against it. Tanghua understood. Then he turned around and hooked up with Sister Yang? Yes. I later found out that he was very close to Sister Yang's people. Every time that person came, Qidong seemed to be trying his best to show off. After that, Qidong rarely came back. He basically lived outside. Once, I accidentally saw him with Sister Yang, and he didn't look too good at that time. Tanghua smiled carelessly. Isn't it just one act in front of others and another act behind their backs? Don't worry, this is easy to solve. According to Sister Yang's personality, she wouldn't bother to target you. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to do these things outside the industry. What do you think? I've guessed that Qidong is probably trying to take advantage of the situation. Sister Yang is such a busy person. Why would she specifically target a small fry like me? Hao Yi understood that if Sister Yang had targeted him, he wouldn't have become famous in the future. If she had simply used some resources, he wouldn't have had the chance to become famous. Most likely, she had long forgotten about him. Since Qidong is the only one targeting you, things will be much easier. You just need to improve your professional skills when you come back. You don't have to think about anything else. Hao Yi was still a little worried. Qidong is Sister Yang's man after all. If he spreads some pillow talk, it might bring a lot of trouble to the company. The biggest problem is probably the competition for resources. However, even if you don't have the ability, don't take on the porcelain job. Don't worry, what's yours won't run away. Qidong doesn't have the power to do anything in this industry. He can touch some of the smaller ones, but he can't touch the bigger ones. The peak. Chapter 4201. You have the capital and the people in the industry understand your value. They're not stupid. They won't give up on a popular person like you just because of Qidong. How you didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He was a has-been artist, but he was a popular person in this manager's eyes. This kind of affirmation that he hadn't received for a long time warmed his heart. Perhaps the choice this time wouldn't be bad. Tanghua chatted with Hao Yi all the way back. She also knew the other reason why Hao Yi was so against the company's arrangement. He would rather die than follow the company's instructions. When Hao Yi was in junior high, his parents passed away, and his uncle became his guardian. If one were to say that he was indebted to this uncle for bringing him up, that was simply not the case. His uncle was originally from an ordinary family. Later on, he took over Hao Ye's parents' assets. However, he told Hao Yi to work hard and not just sit around and do nothing. Hao Yi had always wanted to act and stand on the stage to express himself. Due to his amazing talent, his uncle was tempted. When he was in high school, his uncle became his manager and helped him take on some big and small jobs. After Hao Yi entered the film academy, he participated in a talent show. The results were good. When companies approached him, his uncle agreed that he owed a company. Because he was focused on doing what he liked, he didn't pay attention to these things. He had no experience and was cheated by the contract. What disgusted him the most was that his uncle wanted to send him to Sister Yang when he found out that she was interested in him. Hao Yi came to his senses and rejected him decisively. He didn't want to go down this path, so even if he died, he couldn't go against his principles. No matter how his uncle forced him, he didn't fall for it. He even sued his uncle later on. Unfortunately, his parents' assets and the money he used to earn were mostly squandered. His uncle was a deadbeat and couldn't take it out at all. Search for ebooks. Hao Yi wasn't disappointed that he couldn't get the money. He just wanted to cut ties. Until now, he hadn't heard any news about his uncle for many years. His uncle died because of him, so he didn't have any interest in him. After my parents left, I treated my uncle as my only family. Although he had some shortcomings, I also felt that everyone had shortcomings. Since he was my family, I didn't think too much about it and didn't take any precautions. When Hao Yi said this, he was very calm. It could be seen that he really didn't care much about money. In fact, he was still able to earn money over the years. Just by looking at contracts for people, he was able to earn quite a bit. However, he still lived in the old neighborhood and kept the house neat and tidy. He lived this kind of ordinary life. There was nothing luxurious at home, just because he liked this kind of lifestyle. This is just an experience in life. You're so outstanding, you'll definitely achieve results in the field you like. Tangua's words were very effective on Hao Yi. He also felt that he was very outstanding, but he just lacked a stage. It's been so many years. You haven't forgotten your kung fu, have you? Tangua asked. Hao Yi smiled. How could I forget? I've been thinking about it every day, just waiting for the contract to expire. It was rare to see someone like Hao Yi who was so tenacious that he never thought of giving up. When they arrived at the villa, Hao Yi felt that the scenery outside was a bit different on the way. How did we drive to the most expensive villa area in the city? When he remembered that this car was not cheap, he calmed down again. He didn't know where this manager came from. Maybe she was a rich young lady who liked to do this? To experience life? The peak. Chapter 4202. Sure enough, after getting out of the car and following Tangua into the villa, he felt that his guess was right. Sister Tang's house is really big. Hao Yi praised seriously. He didn't know if it was because of the 7 years of training, but even when he saw such a luxurious place, he didn't show the slightest bit of uneasiness. Instead, his expression was natural and he looked around openly. Tangua felt that Hao Ye's 7 years of experience should be a kind of training for him. She even found Hao Yi in the original plot, but because he was a passerby, there weren't many mentions. But because he was too famous, there were still some mentions. But the mentions were made a long time later. 7 years of hibernation in exchange for soaring into the sky. So, people like him would sooner or later reach the top. It was just a matter of time. You can live here in the future. Is there a problem? Hao Yi shook his head. Of course, there's no problem. I saw that your room is clean and simple. I was afraid that you wouldn't be used to it. As for the room, you can ask the housekeeper to decorate it to your liking. Hao Yi. Any style is fine, as long as it's clean. His small house was very comfortable, but it didn't mean that living in a big house wasn't comfortable. System. Stay longer. You'll be staying here for the rest of your life. Even if you're not used to it now, you'll get used to it in the future. After choosing a room, the two of them ate together. Tangua showed Hao Yi around the villa. When Hao Yi saw the strange things, he felt a little strange. This is where Xiao Yu trains. Tangua pointed at the bricks in front of Hao Yi. There were also some strange things that Hao Yi had never seen before. But there were some skills that Hao Yi saw Yu Jiwei use when he was watching the camera. So what Yu Jiwei said was true. What he learned was arranged by Sister Tang. But he didn't expect that the place where he learned was actually in Tangua's villa. It was such a high-end villa, but now it was reduced to a place where the artists under her management put their learning tools. Especially these hard bricks, which didn't match the villa at all. These cold weapons are actually real. Hao Yi saw a handsome broadsword. Tangua gestured for him to pick it up. When he picked it up, he felt his whole body sink a little. Such a heavy broadsword. Even if he had great strength, it would be very difficult for him to wield it. In addition, he also saw many classical musical instruments here. Although he had never bought these things before, at least he had an eye for them. These things were not cheap. Any one of them would cost at least 50,000 yuan. There were even some that should be worth hundreds of thousands. These cold weapons did not have any signs of being made, but each of them was not simple. They were probably more valuable than those classical musical instruments. He felt that the goods here were cheaper than the batch of bricks just now. This is where Chi-Chi mainly studies. Hao Yi had done his research on the artists under Tangua, so he knew who Jiang Chi-Chi was. She seemed to be filming a police and gangster film, which had been officially announced before. It was a very good role. Jiang Chi-Chi was definitely not a simple person to be chosen. Now that he saw this, he was not surprised at all. You can also learn the things here. The artists under me can learn anything they want, Tangua said. Of course, the premise is that you are very interested. I am quite interested in these things, Hao Yi said. He had never tried such new things before. Now that he had the chance, of course he wanted to touch it. The peak. Chapter 4203. How Yi, do you have any thoughts about returning to this industry? For example, what kind of path do you want to take? How Yi thought for a while and said, I can try any role except for comedy roles. I don't think I'm suitable for comedy roles. I also think that with your image, comedy roles are indeed not suitable. Also, don't touch the domineering male leads of idol dramas. What do you think? That's exactly what I mean. This kind of role will have a lot of fans. How Yi said very seriously, now that I'm back, I want more roles that show my acting skills. No matter how many scenes I have, whether it's good or bad, as long as the audience can appreciate the role I play, it's fine. It's best if there are fewer romantic scenes. After How Yi said that, he reflected for a while. Am I asking for too much? No, this is to define your position. Only when you've found your position can you accept suitable scripts in the future. Then, for now, we'll rule out comedies, idols, and romantic scenes. System. Host. Do you wish that he doesn't talk about romantic scenes at all? He even looked so serious that he almost fooled little Tongzi. Tanghua, you talk so much. You're becoming a gossip master. System. Ha ha ha. Then let's arrange the classes now. What instruments do you know? Are you still practicing? I know a few of the commonly used modern instruments, but I'm not proficient. I can play the songs of normal difficulty. I haven't learned any classical instruments. Then if there's something you like, you can learn it here. Let's decide what you want to learn first. Oh right, Zhuoxiang and Yin Zhuyun will be back in 2 days. They're the artists I just signed. At that time, you can learn together. In the next 2 days, you can familiarize yourself with the theory and knowledge here. How Yi, do you know calligraphy? Tanghua asked because there were a few calligraphy pieces hanging on the wall in his room. They even formed their own style and had a house seal. I know a little. My father is a calligraphy enthusiast and taught me this since I was young. Later on, when I was bored and couldn't calm down, I would practice calligraphy here. Coincidentally, I also have calligraphy classes here. There are also many copybooks. If you're interested, you can take a look. Tanghua pointed to the other side. After How Yi walked over and opened it, he didn't move for a long time. Tanghua, Tongzi, if this kind of person doesn't become popular, who will? All he lacked was an opportunity. Even if he doesn't become an actor, he can still stand in a very high position, but he just doesn't want to give up this industry, so he's been waiting. System. Host. Stop praising him. He's one of us. Now that he's met you, he'll become even more popular. How Yi thought that when Yin Zhuyun and Zhuoxiang came over in 2 days, the teacher would also come over to teach them. When Tanghua said that she wanted to teach them martial arts and how to use those cold weapons, How Yi finally couldn't remain calm. He stared at Tanghua, who was holding the broadsword that he had struggled to wield before, and his eyes did not move away for even a moment. He thought that she was the daughter of a rich family and that she was rich. Like him, she came to this circle to realize her dreams. He had never thought that she would be so powerful. It was as if the girl who always spoke to him with a gentle smile a few days ago wasn't her. The girl in front of him was more like a valiant and formidable heroine. The peak. Chapter 4204. Not to mention Zhuoxiang and Yin Zhuyun. They were simply stunned by their new manager. Were the barriers to becoming a manager these days so high? After Tanghua finished practicing, she couldn't help but complain. I still don't have enough people under me. They're all busy. When can I, as a manager, not do it personally? System. Host. I think it won't be easy. Look, the people you support will become popular and have things to do. How can they have time to help you raise cattle? Tanghua thought about it and felt that she had suffered a great loss. Then arrange less work for them in the future. Every year, at least one of them will take a month off. The one who stays to rest will come and help me. Tanghua first taught them internal energy. How Yi was surprised that they could actually learn internal energy. But if they could learn it, then so be it. Everything here, some could be learned with money, but some could not be learned with money. Zhuxiang and Yin Zhuyuan thought the same. They had never heard of such a serious manager who taught them to improve themselves. About a week later, the three of them could learn the things by themselves. Tanghua only needed to watch over them. In addition to learning these things, they still had acting classes every day. Tanghua, as their manager, would personally choose the scenes to act with them. Hao Yi, Zhuxiang, Yin Zhuyuan, as artists, the past few days had been the time of their lives when they felt defeated the most. Hao Yi loved 3 weapons, a long sword, a broadsword, and a long spear. The moves that Tanghua taught him not only looked cool, but they were also not empty. Coupled with his internal energy, he felt that these moves could kill. The 4 classical instruments that Hao Yi loved were the guqin, the flute, the sun, and the eru. Tanghua chose many characters from the movies and TV series to act with Hao Yi. These characters were from ancient times. There were handsome young masters, cold swordsmen, iron-blooded generals on the battlefield, villains who were extremely bad, and small characters who crawled and rolled around. Among the modern characters, she picked out some common professional characters and let Hao Yi go through them. They were all characters with very little emotional scenes. In addition, Tanghua picked out some of the more outstanding roles in the movie for Hao Yi to try out. In the end, Hao Yi was born to play this role. Even if she wasn't satisfied with her performance at the beginning, she would be able to understand the character's thinking and express the character in her own way. Hao Yi's brilliance had also stunned Zhuxiang and Yin Zhuyuan. This was a person who was bestowed by the heavens to eat. System. How bad can the talent of the person chosen by that guy be? Even if it was bad, he would probably secretly use some cheat codes for himself. Zhuxiang wasn't bad either. Although Zhuxiang also needed to practice martial arts, Tanghua didn't require her to master it. The most important thing was for her to improve her acting skills to the highest level and learn some other skills. Zhuxiang's face was very pretty, and she was still young. She could take on more modern dramas and ancient puppet dramas. As for Yin Zhuyuan, the roles that she would receive in the future could not be the main characters, but they could still be very important characters in the drama. After confirming it, she focused on cultivating this aspect. In addition, she also asked Yin Zhuyuan to learn some etiquette, tea arts, and health skills to create an elegant woman's life. Yin Zhuyuan was already very elegant. Now, she just wanted to highlight this point of hers. Even if she played all kinds of roles in the drama, good and bad, after getting to know her and seeing her lifestyle, she would definitely attract a large number of fans. This group of fans wasn't young either. It could be said that they played a role in making middle-aged women elegant. Therefore, Yin Zhuyuan still had a lot to learn. Yin Zhuyuan, I can even learn how to make kipeos. Actually, when I was young, I really liked these things. Xiaogua, you said that you want me to show my skills on Weibo in the future. I'm really excited. Sharing a beautiful life. I like this kind of thing. Sister Tang, what about I? Can I learn something else? I'm still young and I'm not afraid of pressure. I can arrange my time. Zhuxiang looked at Yin Zhuyuan. She couldn't learn to be elegant. Her personality wasn't like that. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.